But it was almost like they came to the Tottenham Hotspur stadium, showed us a bit too much respect. But on the positive side, you can see the players are there.
You know when a scoreline doesn't show the full picture? We finally saw in this game what Thomas Frank is about. When you've got the changing room, it does mean you have something to work with.
So he's back.
Yeah.
Played brilliantly. He's been a big miss.
Going to be one of our most important players.
We remember, the night that Gareth Bale became a world-class winger.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, not the same. Not Jed Spence going forward. Yeah, he is a threat.
Tuesday was, sort of shutting the gate once the horses bolted. It's gone too far. What's the thing that will make you Frank in? I said, if he wins the league. But it's never going to happen.
There's still a chance to get top four. That's actually, no.
That's gone.
I like that from you.
Reeks of Dr. Spurs. They're desperate for wins, they need points. But I'm not going to say it, it's not West Ham. Come on, Spurs. Hello and welcome to Inside Spurs, talkSPORT's dedicated Spurs show, where we talk all things Tottenham Hotspur. My name is Majestic, alongside me, as always, is Sonny Snelling from Sonny Talk Spurs. And welcoming back, presenter, DJ and Spurs fan, Jess Iszatt. How are we, Jess? Good to have you back.
I'm good, thanks for having me.
In a more positive week.
Yes, and I'm wearing a jumper this time as well because last time I was freezing.
It was cold, wasn't it?
I couldn't even speak by the end. But also, there wasn't as good things to speak about. If you'd have asked me a few days ago, maybe I would have been in the same boat.
Yep.
But I've got a smile on my face this time, and that's all we can ask for in the Spurs camp.
Absolutely, yeah. Crazy week in the world of Spurs, losing to West Ham, and then a European night, which was glorious again at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. More crazy than a David Beckham and Victoria dancing at their children's wedding. But we'll talk about that.
Comment on that.
Exactly. But dancing their way around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the week, of course, were the Spurs boys, beating Borussia Dortmund 2-0. They've won all 4 of their Champions League games at home this season, as twice as many of the wins in the... You didn't go. And you decided not to go.
Oh, my God, you're calling me out on that.
I know a few people did that.
No, but I know how you felt. I didn't go to West Ham because I knew.
It was a decision that you make.
Yes.
And you think you made the right one, and then you're watching and you go, oh, I should have been there. I live around the corner from the stadium.
Oh.
I can see it from my balcony.
Really?
So I did celebrate on the balcony with everyone. It's one of them things where you just, you make that decision and you go, oh, I'm really busy this week. Are Spurs going to ruin my week or make my week? And I thought the former. But it's one of those as well where, again, we're on a bit of a knife's edge, or it's very tumultuous.
Great one.
It always is.
Yeah. but you know what? I did the exact same with the West Ham game. In actual fact, we got a lot of comments, when we did the last show with Abby, when I said it reeks of a Spurs loss with West Ham. I called it ahead of time.
You did.
I said to my dad, you could take my son to Leah. And I stayed home, and I was very glad. But Tuesday, Champions League for under the lights, Tottenham in Europe. It feels and seems like a different prospect at the moment. Sonny, why is it that they can play like that in Europe, but the Premier League... I watched your video on why on your channel. Don't forget, Sonny Talk Spurs, go check it out. I thought, bang on. Let's talk a bit about what you said in that video, because I thought you was absolutely correct.
I just feel like there's less pressure in the Champions League, which is quite shocking to say, because the Champions League is the pinnacle of, club football and the top-tier competition. But I feel like with the Premier League, the level has just gone up, like, monumentally, because of, like, teams like Wolves now, West Ham, like, they're getting results here and there. And I feel like there's just this thing in the Premier League where managers and teams are preparing weeks ahead for, we know we've got Brentford, we know we've got Spurs, we know we've got Arsenal, this is how we're going to set up. Whereas in the Champions League, I'll be honest, I think we got quite an easy draw compared to, like, Chelsea, Newcastle, even City. So that has helped as well. A team like Dortmund, we've got to remember, they are a top-tier team. They've only lost 1 game in the Bundesliga, and I think they lost in the Cup as well. So that's really good. They've got some really good players. Schlotterbeck's highly rated, Guirassy up top. But it was almost like they came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, showed us a bit too much respect. And because there was that open spaces in the midfield and, in the defensive areas, Thomas Frank loves that style of football. We saw it all the time at Brentford. We were able to exploit them. But on the positive side... And I said this after the Villa game, I've said this after a couple of games where we've showed a bit more promise. You can see the players are there. The likes of Wilson Odobert, Xavi Simons, they're getting more confidence. And when we're giving them a run of games and, like, a chance to show their worth in this side, that's where I think, whatever you think about the manager, obviously don't know what you think about Thomas Frank, but whatever happens, I still think this crop of the squad and the youngsters, there's some good foundations for a coach to build on.
I put a poll out on my Instagram ahead of the game, like, are we in for Thomas Frank or are we out? Are we going to win this? It was kind of like 3 options, like anything can happen in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And the number of people that said out ahead of the game, and then the way it switched, obviously, after the game, people coming through and wanted to show support, kind of just shows... I think it shows that, you know, when a scoreline doesn't show the full picture, sometimes like you can scrape a win or whatever it is. I actually feel like we finally saw in this game what Thomas Frank is about and what he can implement. And that's where the hope has come back. I think for so long we were seeing games at home week in, week out, where we were like, I actually just don't see what you're doing. Like, I don't see these tactics that you promised us. And I think... so many people were on board the Thomas the Frank engine right at the beginning because he was saying all the things that the fans wanted to hear. But not just that, it was like he was seeing it like, you know, the fans see it. And we were like, yes, he's on board, he gets it, he knows what needs to change and what needs to happen. And then when he was doing these presses saying, you know, we're seeing all these improvements, and we're like, are we seeing the same game here? But I think for me as well, you know, those little moments that were amplified where we thought, oh, God, does he really not have the dressing room anymore? Who's it, Van der Ven and Jed? Like, those are very small, but they're kind of maybe telling of what's behind closed doors.
And compounded by all the arguments with the fans and stuff like that.
Yeah, and when you've got players like Jed, who, like, newly England squad and has this... attitude, but you're like, well, he's cool and we're on board with him and he's like doing all right, but then he's not on board. And then you've got Van der Ven, who obviously we all love, but is also not showing respect. You go, oh, God, what is really happening? But I think this is where this performance was, like you said, you can tell like they were in.
Yeah.
And that's hopeful. I think when you've got the changing room, it does mean you have something to work with, and it does mean there's positive future ahead of us. I'm going to go with that.
Well, let's hope so, because, of course, there's some very difficult games on the way. We'll be talking about going away to Turf Moor to Burnley, and then it's Manchester City, you've got the North London derby, you've got Newcastle, you've got Manchester United. There's loads to come. But let's just keep focusing on the positives from that performance. Let's start with the fact that we had Big Dom back at the top, the anime king himself.
What was it?
Yeah, I love it. You know, I love his passion for it. And, you know, I thought, and I've said this for such a long time, and to, you know, young strikers out there, especially in a world where we play one up top, which can be very isolating for a striker, Dom's work rate is phenomenal. I think his work rate, his pressing, the positions he gets himself into. Sometimes, I remember a game against Man City last year when we won 4-0 away. He wasn't on the score sheet. I think he assisted one. But it was his movement off the ball that opened up so much space. And I actually showed my 9-year-old son, Leo, that's, you know, because he plays up front. I said,
Project Leo, is
yeah,
this?
Project Leo. I said, look, sometimes when you're in a game and you're isolated, there's still so much work you can do off the ball.
Yeah.
And I think Dom really added that to us. And obviously his hold-up play is a lot better than Richarlison's, etc., or Tell if he plays centrally. Yeah, exactly. Wow. On the score sheet as well, I don't care how you score. If it goes in, it goes in.
Do you mean that? Do you reckon?
No, definitely didn't.
Look, that's just proof, though, of in the right place at the right time. Get the job done, get it in the net. That's all that needs to happen.
But yeah, a big positive to see him, because he just felt like he was never coming back. Like I said last time on the show, I felt like Tottenham had a horror film called The Knock. As soon as you get a knock, they're never seen again. But he's back.
Yeah.
Played brilliantly. He did some great work on and off the ball. He's been a big miss.
Yeah, I think he's going to be one of our most important players going into the end of the season, because, as you say, he's that focal point, and what he does is he drags defenders out the way, and it allows the likes of Xavi Simons, Wilson Odobert to get on the ball and cause a bit of chaos.
So Dortmund started doubling up on him, which allowed the space on the sides.
Exactly.
But that's what you want. You want a player that's so, is so important that you know to double them up, and then it leaves freedom for others and space.
Which is what we've had a real lack of, and I think the Premier League, in comparison to Europe, is because of the way the low block and the double banks of 4. Spurs find that so hard. I mean, traditionally found it very hard to break that down, to be fair. But we saw so much more space for the likes of Odobert and Jed Spence, who actually, played in a more advanced position, that we'll talk about as well.
I think Solanke also as well has this, when he's pressing, it's so confident and he knows where he is and he knows the space. really hate calling players out, but obviously the player that we had in space of that for so long is Richie, and he's got this quite frantic energy, and I wonder if Solanke's energy was just a bit more calming, like it filters. So especially we've got so many young players, and it kind of filters out from the top down.
No, so. It's a great point because, like you said, like Richie does work, but it's frantic. It's sometimes you look at him, you're exhausting yourself. You're not utilising.
And his decision making, like when he's in front of goal, he snatches at a shot, whereas Solanke takes his time, knows left foot, right foot.
And even in terms of that press that we talk about, often Dom will cut open the press and go in the middle of them rather than at one, and they can just pass the ball. I look at Richie sometimes like, mate, you tell a child not to dive in like that. But anyway, so yeah, Dom being back was a big positive on the score sheet. I guess he's doing celebration, and I think for the fans, and I was in the South Stand, so got to feel the energy. And just that connection, they've just all we've been begging for is a bit of something from them for us to get excited about. Like we said in the second half against Villa in the FA Cup, just something. And I think seeing Dom back, seeing the way that we played in that first half, I do feel a lot of people left that, like you said, like on your poll, a lot of people left that game feeling a little bit different.
I think it was the fast start. It was coming out the block straight away. I mean, people will say maybe neutrals that the red card did help, but you could see the spaces were there early on and Dortmund were there to be exploited. And that's the thing. We go into these games now, including Villa and Sunderland, and those slow, lethargic starts, and you're just like, what's going on here? What's the plan? But Thomas Frank used to do that at Brentford. He used to score, 3 consecutive weeks, goals in the first minute.
Yes.
I remember against Burnley, first day of the season, Pedro Porro on the ball, cross straight into the area. It's like, let's put these teams under pressure, especially at home, because you've got to make the most of this home form. I think the Dortmund fans as well helped because they were giving us a bit of atmosphere. So then, the singing came across better. I mean, I watched it on the TV, so it came across a lot better in the stadium. Yeah. But for weeks, I mean, I went to Villa and Sunderland. You're just sitting there and you don't want to sing, you don't want to build the atmosphere because you're like, what is there to be positive about?
It's the jumping with the scarves. I wonder whether we need to pinch that from them.
I like that.
But I just love it. And when you can see they're loving it and then there's an atmos and then the energy. I feel like, when you always say the extra man is the singing and the crowd, and everyone pulled through.
And they said that, didn't they, at the end? Thomas Frank mentioned the fans in his post-press conference. The players did as well. How good the fans were tonight. And it does give them a massive boost. And, perhaps that's why we said before they feel like the pressure sometimes at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the Premier League is like a cauldron that they're not going to benefit from. Whereas in the European nights, like you said, because the other fans are so energetic as well, it does raise the atmosphere. Yeah. I want to talk about some standout performances because Odegaard, 21 years of age, 53 days, he was the youngest ever Spurs player to assist multiple goals in a match in the Champions League. It's the kind of stat that we like to hear from the youngsters. Odegaard is someone that we've all looked at before and go, is he good enough? He's like, you look at where he come from, Burnley, thinking, there's another Spurs one, hoping he becomes good. I left that game on Tuesday thinking there's something there. And that was the first... I've seen glimpses of it, but the confidence of him to take on the man and beat... We only really see that in this modern era, in the likes of, I'm not comparing to him, by the way, put this as an asterisk, I'm not comparing him to it, but the likes of Yamal, right? Doku, Semenyo, Eze, these kind of players that have become the top players, they're the ones who are fearless and will take the players on. And every time he was driving into space and took a man on and dropped his shoulder and got past him, that's all we want to see.
Yeah. I think, earlier in the season, he did have that rawness, and I've said it on here, him and Tell, for example, their decision-making was always they took an extra touch or they should have shot when they held on for it too long. I think what's helped, and I don't want to say this, I'm spinning this as a positive, but the injury crisis at Spurs has probably helped him because we've got no other choice at the moment. Yeah. He has to start most of these games. And I think from the Villa game where he scored and, he made that decision to do a low-driven shot across the keeper, I'm like, so there is a player there. There is a player who knows what he's doing on the ball. And then again, the other day, that first assist, you can tell he's miskicked it.
I call it dummy.
And usually he's put his head down, but he's driven into the area and put in a really good cross, and all that Romero had to do was guide it past. So I'm really optimistic that he can come good. And I sound like a broken record, but Thomas Frank has got a good track record of improving attackers, and he's got someone here that he can mould if he lasts longer than a week, mould into the perfect winger. So I am really hopeful of the future.
Don't do that to him, I was going to say. But I've heard that in training he is insane. And it's a confidence thing that it doesn't necessarily translate to the big stage. And I do get that when we've got so many young players. But like you said, the injury crisis kind of forces you into it. But then we had four 17-year-olds on the bench, I think it was. And so I guess if you're 21, 22, you go, oh, well, I'm
senior. You're one of the senior members.
Then teenagers, yeah.
But you're right in terms of that confidence and being allowed to flourish in an environment where you're praised. There's no like us lot on your back. Yeah. And if you look at it, you look at the trajectory. I've said it already. Eze and Semenyo, coming from places like Reading and then going to Bournemouth and Palace, etc., and being the main guys in a place like that. That's how you develop and get to those levels of fearlessness.
But they're given time to grow those players.
Correct.
They didn't come in straight away and were like, scoring 10, 15 goals a season.
They become the players that they become. So we need to give these players time and we need to see it on a regular basis from them. And I think that freedom in the Champions League, the irony to say that, the freedom in the Champions League compared to the Premier League. Because, so many times if we talk about Spurs in Europe, it's always, you've played no one, they're rubbish, it doesn't matter, the result doesn't matter. What about Bodo Glimt? It's not easy. Exactly, not easy to beat Bodo Glimt away from home, is it, people? Right? But Borussia Dortmund, we're all in agreement that is a top-tier European team. As you said, where they're doing the Bundesliga. So that was a statement result for me. I think probably alongside Frank's win at Manchester City, I think this is his probably second statement win of the season.
Yeah.
Can I also add, Thomas Frank, regardless of what we thought of his presses, whether we were on the same page or not, he, even under the most immense pressure, has not changed his character and how humble he is and how he wants to guide the team. I think the language around this win, he could have been like, yeah, I'm so excited, or I did this or took ownership over it. And he made a real point of changing some of the language in the questions. I noticed where he switched it to like us and the team and really gave them props for it. And I do respect that.
Yeah. There's been little moments of chinks in the armour, like when he's gone at the Spurs fans for booing and little bits like that. He's been under pressure, but considering the pressure he's been under, he has held himself well. And I've always said he's someone that you can listen to talk, he talks well. And that's why we've always said, it's always been, we like Thomas Frank as a person and as a manager. Is he the right fit for Tottenham moving forward?
I think with that, it's maybe his response to the boos that he's been getting week in, week out. But I don't like the way he talks about the fans in that sense.
Yeah. But we're going to go on to see if we're franking her out in a moment's time, because there's a couple more players that I want to talk about. Of course, the legend that was Gareth Bale was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Tuesday. And we remember, the night that Gareth Bale became a world-class winger at the San Siro. Now,
I know where this is going.
Yeah, not the same, not the exact same, but I've been calling it for a long time. Jed Spence going forward, he is a threat. He is someone who likes to attack. He's got confidence, as we know. You said you're wearing two different colour boots. I
love that.
You obviously back yourself.
The ghost of Benoit Solanke. That's like I said.
Yeah, exactly. What do we make of Jed Spence's performance?
I mean,
with a doggy behind him, that little duo.
I mean, he's the one that I was really impressed with.
Yeah.
I just wrap that guy in cotton wool. We've got to protect him at all costs because he's shown that throughout his whole time. Like on his day, he can be one of the best left backs in the Premier League. I was going to say in Europe, but I'll go within the Premier League because the way they were linking up was just like we haven't seen that on that left-hand side for weeks. And maybe it's the fact that Sousa's come in as well. We're going to speak about in a bit. Yeah. These players have got to now show their worth, and I feel like Jed Spence. My only thing is, I think his end product's not going to be there for a winger. I don't think this will be his. He won't be like, as you say, Gareth Bale. But it does show that when the moment comes, these players can step up and can play in positions. Because when I saw that lineup, I literally wrote in my group chat, WTF. I was like, why has Frank put him on the wing? And he proved me wrong. I was impressed with what I saw.
When I saw that come out, I was excited because I see elements in him of that fearlessness going forward. And I think, you said about the end products. I reckon if he gets into those spaces on a more regular basis, didn't he smash one in against us when he was playing for Borough in the FA Cup?
Yeah.
So he has got it in there. He's in the locker. So
I think Jed's up there has always been one of my favourites. And then, you know, when people come for a player and you're like, oh, no, not Jed. But I feel like he really showed his worth. And like, even when he was about to take on 3 players and I can't remember who was commentating, but one of them was like, oh, he's going to do it, isn't he? Like, you can feel it. And he just did, and he managed to get it through. And I think you're seeing a bit of fire in him. And I always notice that he's the first to run over to Xavi whenever he's done anything good, and he's really good. I think it's the chemistry on the pitch and like playing with him and playing for each other. It means that you just try 10 times harder.
100%, and that is a team synergy that needs to be week in, week out if you're going to get anywhere. You mentioned Xavi, which is a great point, because once again, looked a top player, and all the fans around me were talking and singing his praises because, you know, I think people have, again, been quick to jump on him.
Yeah.
You know, we've had ex-pros on here before that's talked about liking him to say Luka Modric, when he first came in, was a little bit lightweight, and then once he found his feet, he was able to... That low centre of gravity he's got is just phenomenal. And it's a player... You know, the last person I really remember like that at Spurs was Aaron Lennon, like that low centre of gravity, you can just pivot and go. I think he's going to be an exciting prospect, Jess, like, for us.
For me, I think when we lost Madders to his injury, I was like, who is going to be able to get through those tight spaces in the box? And I do think Xavi is the answer to that. I think he was allowed a little bit more space in this game, which is what he wanted. But I think maybe, like we were talking about Solanke earlier, maybe that was the key. And I think that having someone where he could look up, there were so many times in the Premier League where you see him look up and he's got no one to aim for. I think just synergy, Solanke, Jed on form, it all felt like it came together in the best way, and I think Xavi was at the heart of that. And even when it was a corner or something and he came over and he was getting everyone going in the stands...
That was good, he read the crowd really well.
Yeah, I was like, that is what we want, and that's what everyone wants, something to cheer for.
You can tell by our show today, like, how we're all just gripping onto like positives, like, and that was good, and that was also good. So it's not all misery every single week. I know a lot of people are like, come on, you lot, be more positive. We are being positive because we're being shown positive things. If we can go to Frankfurt and get a victory, it's in our hands. Like, I love the fact that it's in our hands to go and get the job done and not have to go into this whole, you know, knockout phase, the preliminaries before the knockout phase. Saves us another 2 games in Europe.
Yeah.
Can we go and get the job done, Sonny? Tell me we can.
I think so. I feel like we were just looking at it before. Frankfurt have got 2 important Bundesliga games, like either side, Leverkusen and Hoffenheim this weekend. And they're already out. They're already, you know, you don't get relegated, but you're at the bottom in that red zone. So they've not got a lot to play for. They're a weaker team than when we played them last year. The only thing is the atmosphere, because we remember that Frankfurt atmosphere last year. Was like, I mean, the Dortmund fans showed it, the German fans know how to bring an atmosphere. So that's the only thing. But, you know, if I'm the Frankfurt manager, I'm not risking any players in that game, surely.
I feel like you can't underestimate a team
with nothing to play for.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's the players that might get put on are trying to prove themselves.
Yeah, correct.
And I think that underestimating that would just be... I'm not going to say it, but I just think that we can't go into that game underestimating them.
Yeah.
I think that game's more important than City and Burnley to me, because I feel like at least he's got something to go for in the Champions League. I'm not saying we're going to win it, like, at all, but I feel like, you know...
Finish 17th, win the Champions League?
I mean, has it been done? Has that been done before?
Stranger things.
Like, we raise you from last year.
I know.
Bring Ange back and he can do it. But I just feel like it's that incentive, because at least if you, towards the end of the season, say, like, Frank somehow gets us to the quarters or the semi, but we finish 14th, he can go to, like, the club, like, oh, but I did this. Like, it's something to, like, cling on to, and do you remember that Dortmund performance? Do you remember that, I don't know, round of 16 performance?
Yeah.
Like, it's the little things that, because to me, I think we'll get on to Frank, but he, to me, is still like, you know, if something bad happens this weekend, the knives are going to be out again.
Yeah, if you lose to Burnley.
Yeah.
But that's bringing us on nicely to talk about Thomas Frank. And of course, we'd love to know what you think in the comments. Do you still back Thomas Frank? Are you Frank out? Let's go with you, Jess, because we've not had you on the show for a couple of weeks. Where are you at with Thomas Frank right now?
You know what? I hate this. But if you'd have asked me a few days ago, I think I would have just been like, oh, I'm off the bus. I'm done with this. But I think this showed finally what we can get behind, and that he hasn't lost the change room, which I think for me is the most important thing.
Yeah,
because
I was worried about that.
Otherwise, you don't have anything to work with. Like, you could be the best manager in the world, but if the main players don't have your respect, then what that relationship is done. But I'm also in the camp where if we look at the bigger picture, I don't want to go through that rinse and repeat and washing machine of getting a new manager and starting a new style of football. I feel like I didn't like it when Brennan Johnson went, but he was part of Angie's campaign and he wasn't used at all. And he was our best goal scorer or biggest goal scorer last year. And I just think that now that we're on this journey with Thomas Frank, to jump ship again and flip-flop between styles of management isn't actually going to help us.
No, I agree with that. But I think we all have to be certain that Thomas Frank is the man to bring us forward. Now, Sonny, is he the person, do you think, with that crop of players, which we have identified there's talent there, is he the guy to bring Tottenham forward? I
personally think no. And to me, Tuesday was, sort of shutting the gate once the horse has bolted. It's gone too far. When there's some fans. I wasn't at the West Ham game singing "Sat in the morning" and away. There's been too many moments like the Jed Spence thing, and I know you say maybe the dressing room are back in, but I feel like there's been too many moments where it's too far gone, and it's almost like we're just waiting for it to happen to see the bloody Twitter account tweet the corner flag or the side of the stadium saying club statement. The corner flag. But to me, I just feel like now, like he needs to just. The only way to, really get the fans back on side is now to build up that consistency. But what he had to do was we had a lovely run where it was Brentford, Sunderland, Bournemouth, West Ham, teams that haven't won 10, 11 games before facing us, and we didn't turn up in those fixtures. And those are the moments where, that's where you're judged on. Literally happened to Ange Postecoglou. Ange Postecoglou won us our first trophy in 17 years, and the club went, but you lost 22 games in the Premier League. And I've still got people in my comment section going, but this squad ran through brick walls for Ange. But they didn't, because they lost 22 games. Yeah. There's been another injury crisis. Our injuries were different, though. Yeah. I think having your two main centre-backs and your keeper out is something that most people don't have to experience. But then, I guess Frank has then got... But he's had our striker, our two creative players. The players who have come in, like Xavi Simons has had that pressure of... He was the third choice after Eze and Moore and Gibbs-White. He then was, chucked in at the deep end because he's the only creative outlet. So I understand they've both had their issues, but to me, I just feel like now... I've not seen enough evidence from Frank. And I was a big advocate when he came in. I thought he was going to be tactically flexible. I thought he was going to shore up our defence, improve our set pieces. He has done a few of them. But to me, now it's like we've got to batter Burnley, for example. Like, he's got to be doing some statement things. He's got to go and get a result off City. Because you're playing teams at weak points. Like City, I know we're praising Bodo Glimt, but... City shouldn't be losing that. So we need to really go and do a statement. Because to me, someone said the other day, what's the thing that will make you Frank in? I said, if he wins the league. But it's never going to happen. But he has to do something to shoot us up that table. I think for me, for Thomas Frank, he's got to the end of the season now for me. I'm not getting rid of him. Okay. I'm sticking with Frank for the whole of this season. It's because there's no other choices, though. That's the thing where we're so... Yeah, because I don't want to make even in the transfer window, we're going to talk about transfers in a moment, right? I don't want to just knee-jerk go and buy something because we feel like we have to. I'd literally rather go, Jed Spence, let's play him further forward and have a Dogie. That's what we're going to do for now. Let's fill in this gap here. We didn't even get to mention Janai. Byfield in his I just feel like, though, if we go to Burnley and we lose, I'm going to flip-flop myself, and this is where I'm so confused. Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm just hoping that doesn't happen. But, I mentioned Janai. These people bringing him... let's just utilise what we've got for now. See the season out. If, for example, he goes and gets a statement win in the North London derby, beats them 3-1 at home, right? You go and get big results against City. I said, if he can get us up the table, there's still a chance to get top 4. That's actually... I think that's gone. No, but mathematically... No. But mathematically... I like that from you. No, but mathematically it is. So, for example, if you're beating Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League, who are considered the top European team, if you get this going with these players... you should be able to shoot up the league. And as we know, it's so up and down at the moment. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination we're going to get top 4. But we have to get into Europe. Have to. I think there's a possibility we could finish Conference League, Europa League places, depending on what the... But again, as I say, he needs to get this run of results going together. And he has to... So what happens if he's kept on? Burnley, City, and there's no wins are coming from.
Yeah.
You then.
Then you have to. Then you have to.
Because I worked out the other day. I looked at the fixtures. We sat up in the office because there's surprisingly a good amount of Spurs fans up there. We went through the fixtures. We didn't say let's work out. We went win, draw, loss, and we're sitting there and we're going. Leeds win? We're literally going Leeds win, Everton win. I think we ended up adding it up, and I did it with another creator, Barnaby, who was on the show the other week. We worked out 11 points, and that puts us on about 37, I think, 37 38. And you're like...
That's not a fun game.
I know. I'm bringing the negativity back, but it's trying to be realistic of from what we've seen. I mean, if hopefully the Dortmund game can be the catalyst, but I've just seen too many of Wolves at home.
Too many
Fulham
false
at home.
storms.
Yeah, exactly.
But like I said, it's not even when, we have to. We have to change it. So, as I said before, for me, I think the ideal scenario is we can just see out the end of the season, and then in the summer is when we go and change.
Is he our
things.
Caretaker? Is that what you're saying?
He's the interim. They're going to change his title, aren't they?
The maddest thing is, before coming to this show, I had a dream about him. I dreamt about Thomas Frank bumping into us in the street, and I've heard about you. Talking about me. I was like, we've always been nice about you.
Great DJ.
Yeah, we've been nice about you. We just don't think you're the guy. And, again, we've talked about it before, and I was supposed to camera about, for me, I think there's only one person to come back and steer this ship in the right direction, it's Poch.
Do you know what? I've actually sort of changed my opinion on that.
Yeah, because you was against it.
I just feel like when I'm looking at what else is out there, it is just there's going to be a lot of managers available in the summer, don't get me wrong. But I just think that one makes more sense because you're not going to get Nagelsmann, Xabi Alonso, Xavi. No. So it's it does make sense. And then when you look at his time at Chelsea and PSG, they actually weren't that bad. When you look at it. The World Cup, obviously the US have had awful prep, but because they're already qualified and they're playing against teams that are they don't want to get injured. They want to make sure they're at that tournament. So I just feel and the way he talks about us is great. I just think he can come in, he can improve these youngsters, he can really... The only problem is, if it does go wrong with him,
it's done.
Then we're totally done, and then we've fallen out of love with him. That's my one...
What do you think, Jess?
I feel like people... I would love to see Poch back, and I would love to see how it goes. And I think that if he comes back, we all need to be open to the fact that it might not work.
Correct.
And I think that's realistic.
People think it is going to work.
No, but that's the key.
But that energy is only good, I think, personally.
But that's the key. I think if he comes in and he goes, guys, I told you the time when we got the stadium, we have a lovely house with no furniture. We need to build. We're going to build together. So be patient. But this is the difference. I think we would trust in Poch, in what he says. I know a lot of people went, but the Champions League final papered over the cracks. We were rubbish. Because he talked about the painful rebuild already before that. He'd already seen it coming.
Dembele too early.
We got rid of Dembele too early, etc. There was so much going on. And the reason, like you said, I talk about Poch, you go through, and we just sound like a broken record, and I do apologise. We go through the managers we've had in that time, which has been, since he's left, has been, 6 years?
Yeah.
Almost 7, right? So you go, Jose Mourinho and Conte. I call them the A-listers. We got the A-listers in, the big names. Conte, for me, is still top tier, right? Still a top tier manager. But the problem with them is they're always reminding you, I'm better than you. Yeah. You're lucky I'm here. Yeah. And at any moment, I'll leave you.
He's doing that now at Napoli.
Yeah.
Literally doing that now at Napoli.
I know, exactly, because they can.
And Mourinho's doing it as well.
Exactly. So they're like, we'll leave you at any moment. Then we go down the Nuno, the Ange, and the Frank route. And we're like, we're better than you.
Yeah.
This is the only fit. Because, as I said, Alonso, Xavi, etc. go, I'm not coming to Tottenham. Alonso's set for Liverpool. That's going to happen at some point, right? And then, like you said, Xavi, why is he going to come to Spurs? I know we're on the stadium and all of that. Our reputation to a lot of these people in the world of football...
A lot of these managers can wait as well. I think that's what we've got to remember. They'll sit there and be patient and go, maybe I will go for the Barcelona job again, Xavi.
Correct.
There is that... Or, Man United are going to be looking for another
100%.
manager. And they, sadly, have
still
got
revered.
more of a pull over us.
100% for managers. And again, that's another thing that I wouldn't want Poch to go to Man United and all of a sudden be successful there. I just think, again, as I said, just to wrap up the Frank section, I think let him ride out to the end of the season. Then we part company and trust the money. If there is any kind of finances available, give him the Poch in the summer, see what he wants, what his team's going to be like. Because in my opinion, we've already bought his captain in Conor Gallagher. And I think there's something there. And can you imagine, can Kuti underneath Poch, an Argentinian flavour together.
Yeah. Oh, it would be so good.
He'd be able to calm him down.
That's
Get the flag back out as well.
Yeah, I
big
love
flag
it.
that was on the...
Let's talk about transfers, etc., because it's the last week of the window. Do you see any more signings? Like, let's talk about De Souza quickly.
Yes.
Because you had a whole thing about it the other week. We didn't really get to it.
Yeah.
Again, all the Spurs fans I'm talking about is like, never heard of him.
Yeah.
It's a typical Spurs signature. But what can you tell the audience at home about him?
Do you know what was really promising? You had Tim Vickery the other week, South American football expert on H&J, and he was talking about him. And he knows his stuff about
He's
Brazilians.
brilliant.
And he was praising him. The only negative is his injury record. So that's the one thing.
Perfect place then, right?
But I still think we needed
we
needed to bring a left back in eventually because obviously Destiny Udogi's injury record, Jed's better on the right or on the wing. So I feel like this made perfect sense. He's up and coming. He's got that potential to be one of Brazil's starting left backs as well. He's a good crosser. He's really creative. He links up the play well, and he's just a really good defensive left back as well. So he offers all you want. He's sort of like a bit like that Udogi style of he's quick, pacey, and got all the attributes to be really top. But the thing is, he's young. He doesn't speak the language. So it's one of those ones where it's going to have to be a patient one. Bleed him in. But annoyingly, there's no cup games to bleed him into. It's like, well, we've got Standout in the Premier League and we've got the Champions League. So it's like, where does he sort of fit in? So maybe he's one that would have happened in the summer, but they're like, let's just do it now.
How old is he?
19.
So he'll be like middle of the road in Archie. Same as Archie, right?
Yeah. Coming as a mature player.
One of our seniors.
One of the senior players. The Champions League squad's a bit frustrating at the moment because all the injuries we've had, and you can only have, I think, 3 changes in the next round. So obviously, Benny Davies is out. Richarlison. Bentancur.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And who you picked, who looks like they're coming back quickest, I think is going to be the situation. Obviously, we can get Conor Gallagher if we get through. He can then step in, which will be a big bonus. But I just find it very difficult in this January window to bolster the squad.
I think you're spot on because the names that are being touted are like Jan Diamande at Leipzig, who's also been linked with Liverpool. He has had half a season there after coming from, I think, Spain, and has been phenomenal. But they're going 80 million. Yeah. We're not going to do that now. Was it Samu Agahawa at Porto? Really good up and coming striker. Nearly went to Chelsea. It's like, we want this. It's sort of the January window is we either, from history, we've plucked out Kulusevski or Bentancur or Lucas Moura. We have that sort of signing in us. But we've already done that, I think, with Gallagher. That's been our chuck a 30 million, pluck this guy out. He's good. He's got potential to come in and make a difference. Ideally, I think we need another winger, but that's the problem. It's like I can throw a million names at you, and it's like I think it's such a hard sell now. Why would you want to come now when you don't know if the manager's going to be here next week? The squad's all over the place. You're coming in as you're going to start probably. I think that's a lot of pressure, and I just don't know what players at the moment, even if that stay in the Premier League, go around Europe, are going to want to come to Spurs now. Whereas in the summer, when you reset and it's like, well, might have a new manager or we can attack the new season, that's where it'll be an easier sell. And then Paratici's leaving. So that's hard to do. And he's doing more signings for Fiorentina than he is us.
You're talking about big price tags in January. It's very upset to listen to Jim White and Simon Jordan yesterday talking about our Mickey van der Ven, right? Already feel like they're trying to tout one of our players away from us already. Now, Liverpool are apparently interested. The fact that Gahey went to City scares me. Yeah. And Van der Ven and his dad have already come out and been like, we love Liverpool. That's not helpful. If he was to go, if there was £100 million on the table, would you sell him?
Oh, it would be a day of mourning, wouldn't it? I want to say no, but that's a personal. But I think what you'd get from that is hopefully... I don't know, because we don't know who we're going to have. We don't know if Frank's still going to be here. I think tearing apart our team and our best and young players and someone who's our vice-captain and works so well with Romero, does that mean Romero would want to leave? I don't know. I personally say no.
Sorry?
We're disagreeing a lot today, aren't we? I think for 100 million for a centre-back who is still known for having that injury record, I think you have to... It's a no-brainer to me. I feel like we can invest that money in maybe other areas, and I think we've already got a ready-made replacement to come into the team and take over for him. Luka Viskovic.
Correct.
Like, Bundesliga Player of the Season so far. Even though, I hate that. I hate that award in general.
Bundesliga Player of the Year so far.
We even saw in pre-season, I mean, don't get me wrong, still young, still, got a lot to learn, but I think he could come in and make a real big difference. But then I am going to caveat that with, even though we put that £100 million price tag, I rate that from Spurs, because one, I don't think he will go for that. I think they'd 80. But I love the back off. Like, that. This is, if you want him, come get him. And my prediction is I don't think it will happen this calendar year. He's got 3 years left on his deal. We have all the power here. It's almost like Levy's overseeing it. It's very Levy, that, isn't it? It's like, well, if you want him, come get him, and I'm going to rinse you for every penny you've got.
But that wasn't the question. It was if £100 million was on the table. Because I also agree with what you're saying.
I think as long as you guarantee that Romero stays, I'd sell him. I just think it's 100 million. It's 100 million. And I think, annoyingly, I wouldn't want him to go to Liverpool because he would be phenomenal there.
He would be.
Link up with Van Dijk.
He'd end up becoming the Liverpool captain.
Yeah.
He's that good.
I mean, I do want to keep him.
Yeah.
Can I please, as a disclaimer?
There seems to be a synergy between us and West Ham with doing business of late.
We're becoming West Ham.
They beat us. Talking about Kinty going to West Ham on a loan swap, and Hermansen coming the other way. But the other one that's got everyone sort of back up is Somerville. Obviously, he played very well against us.
Yeah.
And he played very well against us at the London Stadium. I thought he was really good. Would you buy Somerville?
I've seen reports saying that this would be in the summer if it does happen.
Yeah.
The thing that confuses me is I think it's the fee's 25 million, which is what West Ham paid for him. So they're not making any money. They shouldn't sell him now because it just doesn't make sense.
No.
Like, he's one of your... I mean, he scored 3 goals since he's been there. So maybe he isn't one of their better players. I just think it's not the ambition that... Let's just put it this way. When you saw that, how did you react?
Oh, it's just like an...
oh, yeah, OK. I just don't understand it. I think the Kinski thing is strange as well, because it's like, I think he does need a loan, but why are you loaning him to a team where you're going to literally be chucked in the cauldron and go on, then you're going to be pelted. You're going to be pelted in goal. We're getting Hermansen, which is then you've got to swap. There's an issue in the Champions League there. Hermansen is absolutely woeful. I think if you could loan Kinski to like a mid-table European team or a Championship team, I think that makes more sense. But I just don't understand the full... I've even seen today Dragoshin to West Ham.
Really?
Yeah, so what is going on?
This is the same guy that wanted to play for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It's a bit different.
And the might fallen. But yeah, I'm not... It's not exciting me. Let's put it that way.
Right, so that's the transfers. Let's talk about the Burnley game ahead of that this weekend. Spurs have a decent, actually a very good away record in the Premier League at the moment. No other team has a higher percentage of points, 67% from away games this season. And only Arsenal have earned more points on the road than Spurs. They've had 21 points away, we've had 18. So that bodes well going to Turf Moor, where we've had joy in the past, as you mentioned before. The first game of last season, absolutely giving them a hiding a couple of seasons ago. But this reeks of Dr. Spurs. Burnley are winless in their last 13 and have lost 6 of their last 7 Premier League games against Spurs. That is just asking for trouble, that stat. They're desperate for wins, they need points. But I'm not going to say it. It's not West Ham. We're winning this game, guys. We're winning it convincingly. Come on, Spurs.
We've collected all the numbers, isn't it? Winless in 10, winless in 11, 12, 13. Burnley, I mean, they gave Liverpool a good game, didn't they, last weekend? Drew at Anfield. I just can't... It's such a banana skin. But then I am going to be... I've been so negative this week. I'm really sorry about that. I think we will win this. Because, I just fancy us away from home to be a bit more progressive. I mean, the Dortmund game has given me a bit of faith that these players can go out there and do something. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Burnley are scrapping for their life. The gap is actually not that much between them and West Ham and then Forest. I think it's going to be a really interesting relegation fight. So they are going to give us a game, but then that also does work in our favour. Because if they sit off... I don't even know if a point helps them. I feel like they need to be going for it.
Well, they have to win their home games. If
Exactly.
they've got any chance of staying up, winning their home games is essential, Jess.
I think if we get a Romero goal in the first 20 minutes, that sets us up nicely.
He loves
Very
a goal.
specific.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's specific, but I feel like it's been a recent thing
No,
where
it's
he's.
good, yeah.
I feel like he's setting the
trend.
standard, and I like that. And like no cards from him recently as well, so that's good. Yeah, I don't
Always
know.
a bonus.
I want to see Odobert like earning his place in that, and I feel like
Against his old club, so he's got a lot to prove,
there's a
maybe.
lot to prove there. Oh, I'm hoping that this game, if you'd have asked me again, like before Tuesday night, then my answer maybe would have been different. But I am hopeful that this is a positive turning point. I feel like attitudes and that just riding that wave of positive vibes is the way to go.
Yeah, I agree with you, and hopefully that's what Thomas Frank can get across to the players. Is like, that was a turning point of our season. Let's keep building on that momentum. We've got City next, who we know we can beat. We've beaten them once this season, and we love giving them a beating. In the Premier League, we've
Even
done
though
it.
that might end the title race. We might have another rerun of
It
the
might
other
be
year.
of last year. Oh dear. So I'm hoping that. Do you think you should keep the same team from Tuesday night?
Is it exactly the same team? I feel like no Bergvall.
No Bergvall.
Yeah.
Which is such a massive miss because I think Frank has misprofiled him all season.
Yes.
But in the last couple of games, he's playing in the perfect role. And the fact, I mean, there's the footage that we were talking about before of him literally hobbling around, trying to run off an ankle injury. And you're like, what are the medical team doing? That's another conversation. I just feel like maybe Conor Gallagher, this is a good game for him to, really disrupt that midfield.
Stamp his
the Burnley.
authority.
Yeah, exactly. I would go pretty much the same. I think Dom straight back in, Wilson on the wing as well. Maybe the other wing is the one where I'm a bit unsure what we do. I don't really know, like, maybe Tell can come back in, can't he?
I think Tell has something to prove as
I
well
wanna
after
see him.
Solanke coming back out the gates, fresh out the gates for this goal.
That's
So
the thing.
But would you pick Tell over on the left-hand side over Jed Spence? And keep
I would.
rather keep that sort of little synergy going between Udogie and Spence?
I could imagine, I could see a world where maybe like Udogie gets rested. I feel like they're trying to bring back these players slowly. Like we saw it with Solanke, he was given minutes in Sunderland, Villa, West Ham, and then chucked him for the Dortmund game because we knew how important that was. So maybe it's like okay, we'll play you a little bit here and then like, just build his fitness up because if I see him go down again or any of these players, the constant injured players like Bentancur again, what happened with him? I'm just like, it's getting ridiculous
It is,
now.
isn't it? Score predictions, Jess, let's start with you.
I want to go for a Spurs win.
Nice.
I want another Solanke goal and with the anime. I love how they always in the post-match interview ask him about it and I feel like I learn something every single time. Like
Become an anime fan.
what anime, what episode and whether it's his favourite or not. A lot of them have been his favourite. I think I want it to be an exciting game, so I want to say 2-1 to us.
2-1 to us. Sonny?
I'm gonna get my theory hat on here.
Theory?
Every good performance we've had this season has had the same scoreline. City, Brentford, Dortmund, 2-0.
Ooh.
2-0, okay, nice. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Spurs victory. I see Burnley scoring. It will probably be Vicario's fault. It will probably be a corner. But I do see us scoring 3 goals. I think we're going to be able to open them up. And again, it's just more positive momentum, as Jess said, leading in to that Frankfurt game, which is obviously very important. As you said, probably more important than the City game. I think if Spurs can go and do a job against Burnley, keep that momentum, keep the energies high. Look, at the end of the day, we've had not much to talk positively about this season on here that many times. So today, I
still brought the negative energy.
well,
though,
not really. I got it a bit more realistic. Let us know what you think in the comments. Give us your score predictions for Spurs against Burnley, and of course, what you think is going to happen in the Champions League against Frankfurt. That's all we've got time for this week on Inside Spurs. A huge thank you to Sonny and Jess. Until next time, Hotspurs!